Do you believe the Sandy Hook massacre was a hoax?
No.
Do you think the parents of those kids who died were actors?
No.
Okay, so why did you appear on Alex Jones's show?
Those are two very different questions.
Vivek Ramaswamy and Piers Morgan have a discussion on the Second Amendment. And Piers's response is pretty much your typical anti-gun position. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms, the NRA certification and multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. Any channel, content, and what I do here, you can support me. The link, everything is appreciated. Once again, my PSA for Connecticut residents, if you plan on getting your Connecticut pistol permit, please do the training before July 2024. The state has made the training longer, harder, and more expensive for no basic reason other than to disincentivize you from going out and getting your permit to buy a firearm. Also, for those of you who have your permits, watch that expiration date. Do not rely on the state to send out your renewal form. Don't let it expire, because if you let it expire, you got to do it under the new training requirements. Okay, let's talk about this. This video... This interview was over a month ago, but I found it very, very interesting. I meant to speak on it, but there's been so much going on. But this is Vivek Ramaswamy, if you don't know who he is. He's a political candidate for president for 2024. In my opinion, and what I've heard of him, he is a brilliant guy, as far as I'm concerned. Brilliant, and he's not afraid to challenge anyone. He goes on every single talk show, news outlet out there. Even the most extreme left, he will show up and debate, and I give him credit for that. But he went on the Piers Morgan show, and at some point they started talking about guns. What does Alex Jones being on a podcast have to do with Alex Jones's opinion on what happened to Sandy Hook? Now, apparently, allegedly, he has retracted that and said he was wrong for doing so. Fine, but what does that have to do with him discussing issues? It's like you immediately become a pariah because somebody doesn't like what you have to say. There's something really wrong with that. But as I said, they started to talk about the Second Amendment. And it was a very interesting conversation because, once again, Piers Morgan took a position that a lot of anti-gunners take, but the facts don't always align up with what they're saying. But let's go ahead and watch this because it is interesting, but shows a disconnect.
American. I just don't think that's the American way.
Let me talk to you about guns generally, because there was another horrible mass shooting in America in the last few days. 18 people killed. I saw your tweet response, and it was a very conventional Republican response to mass shootings, of which there are now so many you can almost hardly get over the one before there's another one.
Okay, let's start with that. What he's referring to is, of course, the big thing they push of saying there'll be more mass shootings. You heard Schumer say it on the floor when he was pushing his unanimous consent vote for an assault weapons ban, saying there were more mass shootings than days in a year. Once again, I'm going to reiterate the truth behind that. Because they changed the standard of what a mass shooting is. Mass shooting standard used to be 4 people killed. I believe it's every town for gun safety. I may be wrong, but I believe they changed it from 4 people killed to 4 people injured in any given shooting, which immediately opens up all kinds of events to then be included into that mass shooting tally. And this also includes violence in the inner urban cities, St. Louis, Chicago, Philadelphia, so forth and so on, all run by Democrats. Let's just get that straight. It allows them to add that tally in. That's why they can come up with this crazy number where he says, we're barely over one mass shooting when another one happens. But notice the only mass shootings they really give a damn about are when certain people are injured by certain implements. So let's just make that clear.
And it was all about mental health and this and this and that. The one thing you didn't...
it's a really important topic.
I know.
It's not like a mental health. This is a real fundamental topic in the United States.
Many other countries have mental health problems just at the same level that America does. The difference about America, almost exclusively of anywhere in the world, is that America has 400 million plus firearms in circulation. So when people are mentally unstable or sick, they have easy access to guns. And you didn't mention the word gun in your statement. And I was curious, why not?
Okay. Didn't mention the word gun in his statement. Nobody really mentions the word SUV when it came to Waukesha. Nobody really mentions knife when it comes to Idaho, because the implement is irrelevant. The implement has no bearing to this. It's the intent of the person. You heard him say, this guy had a mental health issue. The biggest mistake they made, we're talking about Lewiston, Maine, the biggest mistake they made was letting this guy go, knowing what he said openly. I'm going to kill a bunch of people, and they let him go. So you got to question, is it really the fact that he has access to the gun, or the fact that our mental health system had the warnings and let the guy go? Just go home and do whatever. But
do you not think that guns play a part in gun massacres?
Well, obviously, guns, definitionally, per your question, somewhat tautological there, guns play a role in guns massacres. They don't play a role in massacres of other kinds.
Do you think guns kill people?
I think people kill people using guns and using other instruments to do it.
Have you ever known
I can give you my policy perspective if you're interested in that.
Let me ask you, have you ever known someone shoot someone
We'll let you indulge with whatever the
let me get the question
interesting,
right.
clever framing you have.
Let me get
lined
the
up,
question
so,
right.
Yeah.
Have you ever known,
do the clever flavor?
Have you ever known a human being shoot somebody dead without a gun?
okay, that's like I said, he's really trying his best to gaslight the anti-gun position. That's a dumb question. Have you ever known somebody to shoot someone without a gun? I've never known anybody to stab someone without a knife. I've never known somebody to run over somebody with an SUV without an SUV. It's a dumb question to lead a specific narrative. And I think Vivek does a good job of downplaying that.
I know whatever the setup is, I'll give you whatever I lost track
Not
of it.
setup.
But whatever the premise is.
That's the question.
Guns people have pulled the trigger of guns that have killed people. I think let's just get that on the table.
Yeah.
Sure. Tautological, but
you don't think the
that's not
answer
a
is
useful policy question.
I'm curious. Look, as a British citizen who has a home in America, I can go and get a semi-automatic rifle very easily tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'm not even an American citizen. I just have to apply for a hunting license, give my American address, and I'll get access to any firearms I want. I can kit myself up like Rambo, right? Legally.
Okay, yes, because America chose freedom, whereas England chose authoritarianism, where the government decides what you can and cannot do. Here, the people decide. Now, he's saying all these things. I can go out and kit myself up like Rambo. Yeah, pass the background check? Sure, you can do so. But if you're an evil person, you're an evil person anyway, because he's not looking at the fact that England, there is a huge problem with crime in that country. Massive. And this was many years ago, and I'm going to always dredge up that article. The EU voted United Kingdom as the most violent country in the EU. This was after their firearms ban, because then all of a sudden, remember, they had a wave of people being stabbed. What did they do in response? They banned knives over a certain length. It was incredible, yet the violence continued. He's just trying to associate violence with guns, and that has nothing to do with it. The implement is not the issue.
Legally. What I can't do in America is buy a Kinder Surprise chocolate egg. They're banned on safety grounds.
Well, I think that makes no sense.
You're a very bright man.
I'm a medical and food choice absolutist.
Can you explain to me why it's deemed more dangerous that I should have a chocolate egg with a little toy inside it that might choke people compared to an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle that could slaughter a lot of people in a very short period of time?
So,
Yo, Piers, here's the difference. You can accidentally break open or eat that Kinder egg and accidentally swallow the item that's inside a little toy that's used to put inside those things. If you have an AR-15 and you have no evil in your heart, no malice whatsoever, it's just an implement. It means nothing. It means nothing. This is the stupidest comparison I've heard in a long time. Because children were biting into these Kinder eggs and the toy would accidentally go down their throat and cause them to choke. That's why they're banned. I don't agree with it, but that's the reason they made for banning them. If I go out tomorrow and buy an AR-15, a month later, it'll just be an AR-15 in my safe. The comparison is stupid, but...
So I am a pro-freedom person, and so I'm not going to sit here and defend some other foolish restriction that the United States has on a million things that I'm generally against. But I can speak to the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is not about a technocratic judgment about maximizing or minimizing the number of people who were killed. The Second Amendment is about something else altogether. It's analogous to the discussion we just had about free speech. It's a different value judgment. Are there risks to allowing free speech? Yes, there are, but we bear those risks because that's who we are. That we trade that risk off to say that's how we preserve freedom when it comes to the First Amendment. The Second Amendment makes a similar value judgment. The purpose of the Second Amendment actually wasn't to allow people to have the freedom to hunt. That's not what it's about. It was about repelling and keeping a foreign, in that case, started British monarchy at bay. It's like mutually assured destruction in the Cold War. Both sides have nuclear weapons. Well, that's how you assure a stable peace. It's a mutually assured destruction relationship between the citizens and their government, between the governed and their government.
Right.
That's what this is about. And so why is the United States of America still, for all of our imperfections, 250 years into this ballgame, still the place that when you open the borders, as sadly one administration has, people don't go running out, but they come running in? Why is it the country that still gives hope to the free world? One of the reasons why is the Bill of Rights. And the Second Amendment is the one amendment that gives teeth to all of the other amendments in that Bill of Rights. So that's a value judgment we make.
And I have said that repeatedly. The Second Amendment is the glue that holds the Bill of Rights together. That's why they attack it so much. Without the Second Amendment, all the other amendments in the Constitution can fall like leaves. A government that fears their armed populace can never ever become a dictatorship. And history has shown that over and over again.
The Second Amendment was not written with the question of what minimizes the number of deaths. Those are other policies.
It was that you could arm yourself as part of a well-regulated militia, and then over time, actually, until the 80s in America, it was considered by the Supreme Court to mean just that. And
once again, Pierce is falling on a falsehood that a lot of anti-gun people fall on. They always say that term, well-regulated militia, implying that it means controlled in some way, when in reality, in the 1700s, the term well-regulated, and this has been proven over and over again, it's amazing they keep repeating it. The term well-regulated means in proper working order. You can look up the Oxford Dictionary. They do a good job of this. And also there's a study by a guy out of Harvard who talks about the same thing. Well-regulated meant in proper working order. It did not mean controlled in any fashion.
as the NRA got more political and became less apolitical, and some hardcore Republicans got onto the board of the NRA, they then put pressure on the Supreme Court, which they eventually were successful in doing, in reframing the interpretation of the Second Amendment to mean an individual right to bear arms. And what has happened,
I think the history is a lot more complicated.
But what has happened, and it may be a complete coincidence, but what has happened since that reframing of that interpretation is that the number of mass shootings in America has begun to skyrocket. And
now, Piers is trying to correlate the Supreme Court when he's talking about the Heller decision, saying that it's an individual right, and all of a sudden after that, mass shootings skyrocketed. Well, here's the problem. Gun ownership throughout history was always a free-form thing. It mostly came down to if you can buy it, you can have it. That's literally what it was. In the 40s, 50s, 60s, you could buy a firearm from the newspaper ad and have it delivered to your house at one point. I believe that was in the 1920s. You could have firearms delivered to your home and nobody thought anything of it. Guns were in greater access and more prevalent then than they are technically now. They say we have the highest gun ownership in the country right now in history, but they were definitely easier to get prior to back in the 60s and 50s. People had guns everywhere, yet you didn't have mass shootings. So don't tell me the fact that it's because we now have more access to guns, because we really don't. We're probably more restricted now than ever when it comes to access to firearms. Something else has changed, and there's something else that we're not acknowledging. That's the problem.
they didn't used to happen in anything like these numbers.
I think we
before.
can debate
so
the
my
data.
Question, you're a smart guy, right? There are 400 million plus guns in circulation in America. It's not for me to tell Americans how to lead their lives. It's not for me to tell you what laws you should have. You and your president, this is a major issue you're going to have to confront. I can guarantee you that every month, every 6 weeks, there will be a mass shooting of some significance that will command your response. And every month, 1 million new guns will be sold in America, adding to the total that are available.
Well, once again, I go back to my prior statement. 4 people injured in any shooting is now considered a mass shooting. So with the violence that is escalating out of control in these inner urban cities run by Democrats, yeah, that's what's going to happen, because we won't address the problem. We won't lock up criminals. We think it's racist to hold people accountable for their behavior. So yes, we are going to have an escalation in violence. But the association, once again, he's trying to make, a lot of people try to make, they associate this with a very high profile mass shooting, such as a Sandy Hook. Gang beef gone sideways in Chicago, 4 people injured. Oh, we're going to mentally play this gymnastic game of associating it with a school mass shooting. That's what he's trying to infer here.
And you're going to get, as the population increases, more mentally ill people too. To me, it's just a never-ending,
So that's the part I want to work on.
worsening cocktail. So my question really is, what do you do about it? If no part of the solution involves guns, how do you ever expect it to stop?
So I think that in the data that you cited, a lot of confounding variables, one of which is the rise of mental health crises in this country. You could look at data points over certain periods where before you really saw a rise in violence, you could see per capita gun ownership being about flat over the same period that you did see violence and killings rise. One of the biggest explanations is the shuttering of psychiatric hospitals in this country. I mean, you ought to draw the lines of correlation. There are many ways to draw lines through a scatter plot. Over the same period that you saw the shuttering of psychiatric institutions, you saw almost a direct inverse correlation in the other direction in the rise of violent crime in this country. And so, yes, I do think that is a major issue that we need to address, among other things, by bringing back those mental health institutions, allowing people communities to be able to, under certain conditions, involuntarily commit somebody who is psychiatrically ill and poses a demonstrable danger to their community.
But this guy that just did the latest shooting, that's exactly what happened. He was admitted to a clinic.
He should have remained committed.
He said he was hearing voices. He actually said, I'm going to do a mass shooting.
He should have remained committed.
And he was allowed to go.
And there, Piers just literally confirmed in opposition to his point. Yes, this man should have stayed in the hospital. They let him go. Whose fault is that? The guy that makes a rifle, or the hospital for knowing what he had intentions of doing, letting him go? But, so you heard that, you saw that, and as I said, I think Piers is just trying to play devil's advocate to the point of insanity, and it just doesn't work. As I said, Vivek's a pretty smart guy. He's very quick, and he's got his facts down. But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified the next time the video goes live. I will see you on the next one. Peace.